Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This is Kevin the Canadian Hillbilly, and on this one we're going to be doing a bit of a build today because I always wanted to be able to make my own sluice boxes. I got a bunch of old retired road signs, and I was able to scavenge and scrape together a pile of scrap metal here. And the idea is I'm going to manufacture a sheet metal brake out of this pile of stuff. So we're going to do some building. I'm looking forward to this project. This is something I've wanted to build for a while because it's going to be a useful tool. If I can make a sheet metal brake, that means I can bend some metal. And if I can bend some metal, that means I can make my own little sluice boxes. And not only do I want to build sluice boxes, but I want to make like a capture box that goes on the end of hive anchors. I'm going to line it with carpet. And I'm also going to line it with miner's moss, and then 3/8 expanded, then 1 inch expanded on top of it. I got aluminum wire for my wire feed welders, so we're going to zip up the corners and make the little box watertight, and you'll be able to just place it right underneath your discharge of your hive anchor, so that way if you're missing anything, you'll catch it there. Some people use a gold pan, but I figure a flatter, wider surface capable of capturing gold would probably give you a better indication than a gold pan would. I'm going down the bottom of the hill there and digging up my tailings pile from where I was high banking and finding gold in it. I think this might be a good idea. First thing I need to do is dramatically clean up my shed because it looks like a tornado went through a trailer park in here. So I'm going to clean up the shed, prep the area, and hopefully get some work done. See you when I get this place cleaned up, because that's probably going to be a bit. Bye. Okay. The first step is I'm going to have to chop this off. Chop this off down here. Get rid of this little piece here. Grind this flat. And probably just chop that right there. Just to get rid of that. I'm going to need this longer piece that's square with a good edge, and this is going to be my clamping surface for the sheet metal brake, so the metal will go underneath of it here. I'm going to have to shave down this here and put in another piece of angle iron and slot it so that way it can be slid back and forth across the clamping bed. But this is the very first part, so I'm going to bust out the old grinder, some glasses, some hearing protection, and zip, 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 and flush, 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 get that nice and even. Hopefully the person that welded it wasn't as good as me, and it comes apart really easily. And yeah, step one. Well, I got my first piece of angle iron all cleaned up. That's going to be the clamping bed. Now, I got to bring in the two other pieces of larger angle iron, cut them to the same length, square them up on each end, and then, yeah, I'll end up having to cut out a small piece to make for the hinge. So that's the next step. I'm going to bring those two big pieces in and bring this guy out. There's the clamping bed. One of the two pieces, they were torched off. Oh boy, this thing's going to be pretty dang heavy by the time I'm done, and these pieces are going to dictate the length of it. This thing's probably going to be close to 5 feet in length, I bet you. I'm going to trim off a bit on the end too. Where are we at? Yeah, just a little over 2 inches over 5 feet. So that'll allow me to do a 4 foot wide piece of sheet, which is a pretty decent sized box. Looking forward to it. Well, I managed to get my two big pieces of angle iron, which is going to be the clamping bed and the pivoting part. So they're going to be kind of, sitting like that. Now I got to cut out an area here for the hinge to sit in. I'm going to take out these set screws, and I also got to cut up that metal bar here to be the center part of the hinge. I was going to use a door hinge, and I seen I had this stuff kicking around the old scrap pile. I figured this would be a little bit more robust and less likely to hose a fella over. So that's the plan. I'm going to clean all this stuff up. I'm going to chop this out. I'm going to chop a bit of pin to length. Probably going to remove these set screws. That way they're just right out of the equation entirely. Because once they're there, I won't need them. I might be able to use the one just to hold the pin in on the outside. That way I don't have to worry about sliding out. But, so yeah, I'm going to have to mark it so that's about center there and cut out that little section. So I'm going to clean up all this stuff here first on a wire wheel and get rid of the little locking screws, and yeah, chop out this, and then I'm just going to prep as much material as I can before I have to bust out the welder. That's my logic behind all this. Getting these things off the end of those frickin' shafts was a pain in the butt, as you can tell by how corroded they were. They took some ungentle persuasion, we'll say. But it's coming along nicely. I'm looking forward to getting this. Well, I managed to get my hinges set up. I'm going to leave one set screw. That'll be on the piece on the outside. That way you can just unscrew that and pop the hinge out. Some of these set screws that were in there didn't want to come out of there. As you can probably see by that, it turned into a bloody licorice. But I got them filed out and drilled out. Got it so the hinge pin will go in there. I'm wondering if I should upgrade my bolt and use a thicker gauge. I'm probably going to end up doing that. Thicker bolt, wing nut. Just then I have less chances of stuff bending and popping and buggering up. So the next thing I got to do is I'm going to clean up the ends on these, because some of them aren't the prettiest. Get them nice and flat. Then I got to notch out 4.5 inches for that hinge pin to insert into, and then I can weld the hinge pin in place on these, which will be nice. Yeah, then after that it'll be put the bolt in on top of the bed plate for the clamp, which will also require a bit of work. I'm going to have to figure out a way to hold that clamp in some sort of device and be able to run a grinder across the top of it, because the edge of it on this side here, on the smaller piece of angle iron, it's rounded, and I need it to be flat across the bottom, even all the way across. That way I got a nice crisp fold when I do use this thing as a bender. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be so I'm going to have to make up some sort of project thing, and then I got to make some sort of clamp for the angle iron to sit in, and then I got to make a slider for the grinder to slide on, so that way it does it on one even smooth surface. Should be an interesting go. Got it all measured out, got my right thickness on here. Same thing with down here, opposite end. Just need to cut along this line here, this line here, this line here. Then I'm going to have to open this up and do the opposite surface equal as well. That way the hinge pin will fit right in between there, and I'll be able to zippy zappy that up. Hey guys, I managed to get my metal cut out and filed, but unfortunately I screwed up and I made it just a smidge too wide in this spot. So now I'm going to have to close this gap up with a rod. Great. But I'll be able to weld the hinge pins tomorrow. I got my hinge and the fulcrum all cleaned up. I got the angle iron kind of cleaned up. So hopefully it takes some zippy zappy tomorrow and goes all right. Worst comes to worst, I'm going to have to, like, put a little piece of metal in there or some damn thing, but I doubt I'll have to. I could probably just gap that with some rod. Here's the other side here, and it's all clamped up, it's all squared up, it's looking pretty good. Nice and flat along the bottom. Yeah, So once that's all welded up, that'll be looking pretty good. Yeah. Looking forward to hitting the brakes on this one for the evening. It was a long go trying to file all this stuff and make sure it was nice and even, just to find out I made it too big. But like I say, I'll be able to close it up with some welding rod in the morning and call it that. Oh, what a long day in here it was. I'm looking forward to tidying up and putting things away. And like I say, tomorrow it's going to be welding day. I'm going to put the hinges in there. Then I got to do the clamp. I also got to do the handles. But I'm just going to, take one thing at a time. Hey, I'm looking forward to getting this sucker. This thing is like almost 5 feet across. Well, it'll be about 4.5 feet, so it'll be nice for being able to do maybe even sluice boxes. I'm looking forward to it. As you can tell by the annoying noise, I got the generator running. Which means it's time to prep the welder. Trying to get some zippy zappy going here. I'm gonna mask up, grab some rod, some gloves, and start zippy zapping. I'll turn this back on as we go. Hopefully everything goes well. As we wait for that generator to die, it'll be about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. I did turn off the fuel like that. It's got to run out at some point in time. There we go. Alright guys, after some time of trying, we got our hinge welded in there and get past 90 degrees. So that's good. That's what I was looking for. So we got ourselves the beginnings of the break. Looking good. Kind of happy the way that turned out. Not too bad. It's a little tighter in the angulation than needed, so that's working out good. There's your flat. And this is the side I'm going to put the handles on. Oh, so the first time I welded this, I didn't clean off one of the hinges here, and when I was trying to flex it for the first time, it broke it right off. So I had to clean everything up and re-weld it. And that's where that little fella is. One thing I also discovered was the 1/4 inch welding rod is a little big. I need the 1/8 inch rod. Once I got to the 1/8 inch, then it started welding up pretty good. It was just drawing too much amperage on the bigger stick. So I'm gonna have to buy me a bunch of different size welding rod for that, a little smaller. But yeah, that came together so far so good. Thank God, because that was pretty painful. I'm gonna tuck the welder back into the little welding shed here and do a little tidy up of things and have myself a much needed break and fix that poor flap that came off my bar up here. But yeah, so far so good. Well, I got the angle iron set up here. This is going to be the clamping piece. I had to rig up the disc grinder here and slide it along. That way I could get a nice good edge on it, because it's rounded on the opposite side, and the sharper of an edge you can get here, the better your fold's going to look. So now I need to notch each end out to a certain way, to a certain degree, and then I'm going to have to weld another piece of angle iron on the top with a hole in it for the bolt that's going to be attached to the top plate there. Well, I guess it'd be the bed plate. This is the top plate. This is looking pretty good though. Kind of happy the way this turned out. I wasn't so exactly sure how I was going to be able to do this with the disc grinder sliding along here, but I'm a pretty crafty fella. Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Come along with me, I'll show you how I get it done. Okay, just to recap here. We got the bed. shaped up. And I'll be able to get well over a 90-degree corner with that. So that's pretty skookum. Pretty happy with that. Nice and flat on here. Not much of a gap at all. Even when you fold it, very, very little gap. So that's going to fold real nice. Now, I'm working on the hold-down clamp. I was able to file that one edge I needed to that sharp, crisp corner. Then I had to make the corner brackets up for it. And I got them held in place for prep for welding. Got the metal all cleaned up, so I'm going to run a bead across here, and then across here, opposite side as well. And same with that side over there. And then once that's held in place, I'm going to flip it over and do a little zippy zappy on the bottom here too, where I can get to it. And push comes to shove, I might have to put a bracket that goes across the top of this, have a piece of pipe or something in the middle, and have a bolt with a nut on the bolts. That way I can adjust the pressure on it. Hey, hopefully I don't need that. It would be nice, but you never know. And then after this, I got to put the handles on that brake. That way you can get some leverage on it when it comes time to bend some stuff up. But she's coming along pretty damn good. Kind of impressed. But it's time for me to take a little bit of a break. Put these batteries on the recharger, and yeah, pretty productive day. Some of this I was able to do yesterday, so this is day 2 on this project. The welding wasn't going so smooth and easy for a fella. Part of it was that large diameter rod, and the welder requiring 50 amps, and my generator having a 30 amp breaker. Not a good combination when you're trying to weld. But I got that all figured out. Have to use a smaller diameter rod. Works just fine. So, it's break time. I'm going to go in and take a load off. Okay guys, I got my bolts welded in there. It's got a nice little bit of play here. Got a little bit of room. And that should just give me what I need to do that aluminum up. The only thing left to do is zip on the old handles here down below, and that'll be about that. This is pretty darn good. I really like the way the clamp bar turned out today. That was quite a little project in itself. Just a little bit of cleanup, and that's about it for this guy. And those 2 handles. Really looking forward to busting this thing out and giving it a try. I'm very happy the way this build's going. Once I figured out having to use a smaller rod, geez, no problemo. Yeah, looking real good. I should be able to do a 4-foot wide sheet with this guy. Look at that thing, it's ginormous. It's freaking huge. Yeah. Looking forward to this. Now I just got to do clean up here, pick up all my bits and pieces, and put some tools away, and be ready for the next phase in the game, which is loading handles. So I'll have to flip this thing over on top of these sawhorses. I gotta clean up one edge on that square stock for the handle. Clean up the bottom side of the angle iron for the set handle. And then figure out a nice little comfortable spot to put them. That way I can get the bend on, you know what I'm saying? This is great. I'll be able to make my own sluice boxes and everything with this guy. Oh man, this is going to be awesome. Ah, crafty. You know, sometimes you got to, make your own stuff when you lose things to things like Mother Nature. It's like a little victory, taking things back one step at a time. I'm really pumped the way this is turning out here. Another little project to have on the go is that swimming pool, which is a separate video in itself, and I hope you guys watch that one because it was quite the task digging that. I was able to do a little bit by hand, and the rest of it was all done by, well, a little bit was done with the tractor, and the rest of it was all done by hand. And a lot of it was done by hand, I tell you. It's quite the whole. It's almost been 2 days filling. So there's quite a volume of water in there, which is nice because I wanted that water in case we ever had a forest fire around here. Because, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, yeah, you're dumb. Oh, this thing's looking great. I'm so pumped the way this is turning out. I'm also going to need little springs underneath here. to hold this up, which I will be able to find. I got something planned for that. Yeah, it's nice and square, even all the way across. Looking real good. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to folding up some metal with this. Time to build some sluice boxes. Oh, frickin' she's up close. Time for a break though. Day 3. So I'm going to have to add on this little plate and add on this piece of angle iron. I'm going to have to drill a hole through this and thread it. That way I could put a bolt here to act as a backstop against this piece of angle iron. That way the whole top clamp won't slide backwards on a fella. And that's where about time at. I just got to mark these pieces, drill them out, thread them, then weld everything into place. Which is going to be a task. But that's the way she goes. Alright, well, I got my little piece added on here and welded. I got these pieces all fabricated and ready to be welded. And this will allow me to move that clamping plate back and forth and hold it in place while I press. Another thing I'm going to have to do is cut this down on a bit of an angle. So that way I can bring it all the way up and over. Try that, I can just chop it off on the hinge here. I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll probably just chop this off. I got the other side all ready to go. I just gotta get the welder going and run some beads around the outside edge, and that'll be that for this. Yay, all these little steps. I still have to do the handles yet. I don't know what else there is to do after this. But boy, I need a break. I'm not feeling good today. I got a bit of a killer headache. But, you know, you got to keep on pushing through. You got to persevere and keep on trucking. I'm liking the way it's looking so far. Then I'll clean everything up with the grinder and maybe throw a little bit of paint on her here and there. I don't know. But I'm happy the way she's turning out so far. Hey everybody, we're into day 4 of this fabrication job. Yesterday was a bit of a write-off. I was feeling horrible. Killer headache. Had to lay down for most of the day. And so this is what I ended up getting done with what feeble time I had. I was able to put the backstop on there, and that's a nice little plate I welded on, then the angle iron, and threaded a hole. Now this thing is solid on there. It won't be able to slide the clamp back while it's in use. So that's a bonus. Kind of like that. Really looking forward to this job, I tell you. Yeah. So the next thing we got to do is put the handles on. And they're going to be welded onto this surface here. So I'm going to have to unclamp this, rotate it over, and get myself a nice little welding position for this. I hope I can get away with putting the camera right around here somewhere. That's pretty nifty. Yeah. I haven't been videotaping much of me doing this job because a lot of it is loud, noisy, and bright when it comes to welding. There's been quite a bit of manipulation, we'll say. She ain't pretty. She just looks that way. Took some time for my welding to tell. I fell in love with a rod from hell. I got spots pre-marked out on this, so I'm going to clamp this down now. Try to get my clamps so they're relatively out of the way. That's one. I guess I was using that one. Get that one in there. So the next step on this is to grind the area where I'm going to be placing the handle. So that way the weld takes a little bit better. So I'm going to clean out this little spot right here. Another little spot right here, not too far up. And the same thing with over here on this spot. I'm going to hit the brakes on this. Save you guys the agony of watching a guy play the zip cut. Well, a grinder, not a zip cut. You don't want to use a zip cut when you're grinding. Those little fellas can explode on a guy. Well, I got the 2 handles clamped in, and they're looking pretty good. I think I'm just going to rock it out and hope for the best. Should be alright. do kind of want to readjust that clamp, get it a little bit more squared and even. That might be a good idea. So I can come with the clamp on the other side, but I got that board there. I'll have to smidge that board over a smidge. But yeah, I'm going to maybe throw another clamp on each side of these just to hold them in there really good and firm. Then I'm going to get ready for welding. And when I come back, these things should look all pretty and welded up. Well, behold, the project is finished. I managed to get the top retaining clamp in there. I haven't even chipped off any of the slag yet because we got an impending thunder and lightning storm coming our way. I managed to get that trimmed off. It folds. Doo-doo-doo. So what I'll end up doing is literally putting this on the two sawhorses and sticking two 2x6s underneath here and bridging the gap, clamping it down to this bracket here, and that's secure. So now I got myself, I don't even know the width of this thing, I think it's like 52 or something like that, or 56 inches across, but lots of room to do stuff. I'm looking forward to it. And we got this guy here is adjustable, we can squish this down. That's a wrench job, but that'll squeeze down the middle. I don't have to worry about anything blowing up on a feller. So I'm looking forward to this. Should be pretty skookum. Yeah. And I'm looking at it, I see there's a little bit of a gap and opens up in the middle, so I'll have to preset that clamp down. But hey, that's a good project. I'm happy with it. Turned out pretty good. You know, for a guy who needed to buy a sheet metal brake, and you realize you got the ability to construct one, it's nice to be able to do it. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. There was a lot of grinding, a lot of filing, a little bit of welding. It was a little tough to figure it out, but I got her together. And by the looks of this guy, it's pretty dark and gray. I'm glad I got it done when I did. Thanks for watching. See what I mean? See you next time. Bye.